Mike G of Locked On UCF. Drake Toll with you, Locked On Big 12. Mike, before I give you my dream scenario, my little algorithm, my BCS thing that I've driven up in my head here, as someone who's covered college football for a long time, especially in SEC country, is there an opportunity for the Big 12 to get 2 or 3 college football playoff teams in?
2, absolutely. 3, I'm gonna tell you who I think the third might be here. But
don't say the UCF Knights. Don't do it, Mike.
I don't think I'm gonna do that today. We're gonna stay in reality land today, Drake.
Yeah.
But in talking with my good friend over at ESPN, Heather Dinich, she believed that the SEC coming into this season had a good shot to get 5 teams into the inaugural 12-team playoff. Now, she nailed it last year. She told the whole world, look, Texas and Alabama are making this playoff. People called her names. They scoffed at it. And then ultimately Texas and Alabama made the playoff. Sure. But this year, I think that though I believe her, there was a chance. I'm not so sure that 5 teams are going to get in. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive. There's a lot of parity in the SEC right now. So right now you've got Alabama sitting there with 2 losses before November for the first time since 2007, Drake. The Tide, I don't think they can afford to drop one more game and make this playoff. Yeah, personally. And so what we're seeing in the Big 12 is really important. Iowa State and BYU are in prime position right now. If you're BYU, you take care of business on Saturday versus UCF. You've never been in a stronger position to make this playoff. If you're Iowa State, again, you're in really, really strong position. Now, beyond them, who can make it? Well, you got Kansas State with 1 loss sitting there, and they're a 16th ranked team in the country. I believe if they have a chance to make the playoff. And hear me out on this one. If Colorado can win out, I think they could be the 3rd team. And I think that the committee would love to get Deion and Colorado into this inaugural 12-team playoff. So you've got Shedeur Sanders, who's having a great season. He's been a great college quarterback. And you've got who, up until last week, Travis Hunter, who's my front runner for the Heisman, hands down. It's been a long time since we've seen a guy play both sides of the ball at such a high level like he's doing. God, there was a game. What was it, Drake, where he won like impact player on offense and defense? It was like our player of the game on both sides of the ball is Travis Hunter. Deion's got it cooking. He told the world last year, he said, you better get us now because this is the worst we're ever going to be. Yeah. And then this year, I think they've taken steps forward. Clearly, Colorado is my dark horse from the Big 12 to make this 12-team playoff. I know there's some teams in front of them right now when you look at the standings, because they're sitting here at 6. You got Cincinnati technically in front of them and Texas Tech. Those guys are pretenders. I can't see them making the play. I think Colorado or Kansas State have a chance to get in.
Mike, I do think that Colorado, because of what they bring from a TV viewership standpoint, that's always in the conversation.
It is.
How big is your brand when it comes to college football playoff? If we're talking 9-3 Missouri or 9-3 LSU, I don't care who won head-to-head straight up. We're siding with LSU. The committee is going to go with a bigger brand in a lot of these conversations. And where I do want to give you a good nod on Colorado, they don't meet Iowa State or BYU down the rest of their path. They could reasonably finish at 10-2 and make it a really tough decision for the committee, even if they don't go to the Big 12 championship and win it. There is also so add that into the fold of what I'm about to give you, because that's separate from my scenario that puts all the weird algorithm X's and O's into it. So Colorado goes 10-2 and already makes this thing an entire crapshoot. Iowa State finishing at 11-1, going 11-0 is on the table, certainly going into Kansas State, that last game of the year. If they drop that game due to the head-to-head, K-State at 11-1 goes to the Big 12 championship and faces 12-0 BYU. So at this point, you're looking at 11-1 Iowa State, 11-1 Kansas State, 12-0 BYU. And if K-State's able to go to Arlington and beat BYU, you've got 2 12-win teams in the Big 12, both at 12-1, Kansas State, BYU. It's tough to keep any 12-win team out of the college football playoff. From there, you would have to deny 11-1 Iowa State, likely for a 2-loss team out of the SEC or the Big Ten, which I'm sure wouldn't shock anybody. Those 2 conferences are weighted differently. And then again, could you have Colorado sitting there as well? It doesn't fit. And again, we got 5 games to go. Dream scenario, and I'm already calling it in the middle of October. But Mike, it's on the table where the Big 12 could make some serious noise in the college football playoff, and it's not as far-fetched as it really could be.
Well, Drake, I think they're in prime position to get their conference champion and their conference runner-up into this playoff, right? So let's just start there. After that, could the third place team sitting there with 2 losses possibly be and not having to play, if because Colorado's already got 2 losses, not having to play that Big 12 championship game, that might be a little bit of a blessing for them to not have to go in and get a third loss since they're sitting there with 2 losses already. That's why I think that Colorado is in a really, really strong position to make this playoff if they can win out and not have to play that Big 12 championship. Look, a 12-team playoff has changed the math for a lot of teams here. If you were in the SEC or the Big Ten, not winning your conference championship, possibly in some cases, especially in the Big Ten, meant possibly not making the 12-team playoff or the 14 playoff. So here's what happens. You get there and you're the Big Ten. And how many times have we seen it when they had divisions? Whoever the runner-up was, whoever you had Ohio State maybe sitting at 12-0, and they're going against like 8-4 Wisconsin or something.
Iowa,
yeah, right. I think that the Big 12 avoids that scenario this year, where you have a conference champion that's undefeated or with 1 loss, and then a runner-up that's got so many losses, because of the elimination of divisions and a lot of these super conferences. It's changed the math, I think, here at the end, and it's given teams a lot. Like, look, we can win out, and I'm not saying that it's made conference championships meaningless because they weight that in terms of seeding in the playoff, but. Look, if you are going to win the conference anyway, you just want to get in. That's it. And if you're a coach and you're sitting there and you're thinking, I can't get over the Ohio State hump or in the Big 12, because the Big 12 has evolved over the last few years, obviously, with Oklahoma and Texas moving to the SEC. There's room for a new king on that hill. But what does that mean? Does that mean how much does winning the Big 12 mean to Colorado if they're getting in a 12-team playoff anyway? I think that with multiple losses, if they finish just behind the top 2 and they don't have to play that last game, that's exactly where you want to be, and you're in.
Yeah, Mike, before we talk about Gus Malzahn's future in Orlando, I, again, want to just go right back to right now, Iowa State's at 10, BYU's at 11. If those teams keep winning and supplant themselves in the top 6, the top 7 even, 1 loss might not completely bottom you out of the playoff. You're very well in the conversation or on the bubble, and that within itself would bode well for the brand of the Big 12. Coming up, what is the future for UCF when it comes to the guy who wears the headset? This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On UCF crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I know what you're thinking. Wow, I could go bet on BYU to beat UCF and they're underdogs, or I could bet on UCF because I think they're going to be able to run the football this week. And Jake Retzlaff, I don't know if I trust him, do I? And wow, I mean, Ja'Cory Brown's coming in and maybe he brings this whole new dynamic, and BYU's run defense wasn't that good last week. You can bet on either team at FanDuel. And right now, college football fans get a big return on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, too, you can check out latest stats, you live play-by-play, and put live bets into FanDuel. It's simple. And, $5, just $5, win or lose, I'll give you $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, just for getting started. That is FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's your place to wager on BYU and UCF this weekend. FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit them today.